What's good, guys? It's been a while since I've made a video. I had just actually recorded this long video, but I was getting lost in a few of my thoughts and it was getting too long, so I'm going to try and make this a little bit shorter, precise version. The first thing I want to say is that I'm debating making a new channel. I have a lot of people that basically are related to me, co-workers, etc., that know I have this shoe channel, but they also know that I like to watch movies. I'd say that I go to probably an average of one movie a week, and I see on average probably 2 to 3 movies, full-length movies a week, seeing hundreds of documentaries, etc. And basically, I'd say 95% of people I know like movies. So a lot of them, since they say I watch so many movies, were saying that I should do a movie review channel, something along those lines. So I'm thinking about doing something like that. But I don't really put out that many videos because I don't really want to water down my channel. I don't care about the ad revenue I get. I'd say on average I make less than $30 a month. It's not affecting me too greatly, and I don't want to have crappy content and just be spewing out these videos day to day. I feel like every time I make a video, it's about a topic that I feel is important and something that I feel is worth addressing. So this video is going to talk about kind of my complicated relationship with Nike and Jordan Brand. And before I get started, just stay on the lookout. I may end up doing that other channel sometime in the next few weeks. I'm still considering it, but let's get into this topic. The reason that this whole thing bothers me is because I always hear people all the time basically being Nike and Jordan Brand groupies. And a lot of the times it's younger kids that basically think you're uncool if you don't wear Jordans. And to me, I don't feel that way whatsoever. Even though I'd say the majority of my collection is Jordans, which I will explain that reasoning later on in this video, I still love and respect every type of brand, shoes, etc. And I hear people saying, oh, Adidas is crap compared to Jordan Brand, or New Balance, Asics, they suck compared to Jordan Brand, Nike, etc. Nike's where it's at, man. They got the best quality stuff. And it's just not true. And something that I didn't even realize till probably about a year ago was that Adidas actually owns Reebok. And in terms of revenue and profit, they're not that far behind Nike. I'd say it's a few billion difference right now, but when you're talking about 18 versus 15 billion, really in the grand scheme of things, that's not that much of a difference. Those are still two very large numbers. And in fact, Adidas is growing at a slightly higher rate currently, I believe, and they have higher dividend payouts and higher dividend growth from year to year for the past 2 years, or a few years. And I actually just went to China this past year, last summer actually, and in all the bigger cities, you'd see nothing except Adidas billboards with Derrick Rose on them. I'd say for sure, at least in the major cities like Beijing, Shanghai, etc., Derrick Rose was by far the most popular athlete. I don't know if that's across the entire country, but in a few of the more major cities, Derrick Rose was hands down the most popular athlete. I'd say the next two in line would probably be Yao Ming and Kobe Bryant. So Adidas is making a dent, and if it can spread across the country like China, which has billions of people compared to the 300 million, I believe it is, in the U.S., they could take the shoe industry by the reins, basically. Now, that's just my issue with people saying Adidas sucks versus Nike. Now, kind of a general thing across a lot of shoe brands, but particularly Nike and Jordan brand that bothers me. It at least comes from a moral aspect, and I'm someone that when I die, when I get to that point where I'm looking back on my life, I want to have an effect on this world where I can lay it bed when I can go to sleep at night and say I had a positive impact on this world, and I have tried to do it on some levels on a small level, I guess you would say, but I want to have I don't know if it's just my personality, but I want to have a large impact. And something that bothers me about these companies, especially Nike, is how just inhumane they are. I know a lot of people are going to give me crap for this, say, oh, blah, blah, blah. I'll get into details. Like, for example, Nike has basically 99.9% of their manufacturing of products outside of the United States. Now, besides hurting this economy, they're doing nothing except hurting the people in other countries, as well as keeping those countries at a baseline where they really have no room for growth. Like, for example, in an interview Michael Moore did with Phil Knight, it was in the 90s, they said at the time workers in Indonesia making Jordan brand shoes and Nike shoes were getting paid $1.25 per day, not per hour, per day. Now, it may have risen a little bit since that point, but even if it's just a few dollars a day, I mean, to my guys subscribing and following on YouTube, just think about that. That actually have full-time jobs, a few dollars a day, that's, in America, that's destitute poor. That's food stamps, homeless shelter, that's that level of poor. And when you continue to employ these people in other countries, you're not forcing them to change policies, etc. And not only that, but you're hurting the American economy, as I believe I mentioned. And the only reason that a company like Nike or Jordan is doing it is for bottom line, plain and simple. It cuts costs, gives you a better profit margin, you're spending less, and now they can spend less as the quality has shown and raise the prices, and that profit margin is just getting greater and greater. It's ridiculous. And in addition to things like that, they also do very, very bad things when it comes to animal rights groups, etc. Now, my mom just sent me an email. This is an older issue. Probably, I want to say 8-9 months ago, this kind of came out as a news story. And my mom basically despises Nike. She's all about rights and all that sort of stuff. So she sent me this and was like, how you feel about your company now? But this is an old issue, but I'm going to address it anyway. And it was Nike was killing kangaroos for their soccer shoes. And they were like 90+% of the soccer shoes that they crafted had kangaroo leather. And that in and of itself isn't quote-unquote horrible, because the other side of the argument that I heard from some people living in Australia was kangaroos are kind of like a rodent type animal there. They're everywhere. They eat people's crops, etc. But the way that Nike was going about doing it wasn't exactly what you would consider humane. They were killing kangaroos that had baby joeys inside their pouch that were still alive. I mean, it was just some sick stuff. So that kind of touches on the actual internal aspects of the company. Another reason that I kind of don't like Nike and Jordan Brand is the deaths and craziness that have occurred due to these releases. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that has nothing to do with the brand. While I agree on some level, if they controlled things, we wouldn't be having these issues. If they produce more shoes, we would not be having these issues. If they figured out a way to make these release lines more safe, we wouldn't be having these issues. Now, I get some arguments people make about, well, get police for the release lines, stuff like that. But some of these malls and whatnot in bad neighborhoods that are getting general release Jordans, like the Concords, for example, you really think that cops are going to be down there to enforce the security for places like that? I personally don't think so, and it's proven that way since Jordan Brand has been in existence. Now, while a lot of the issues going on are people stabbing and killing kids for the money from the kids while they're waiting in line, there also have been deaths specifically for shoes. I mean, I don't think the kid died, he was just hurt. But even recently, there was that World Star hip hop video of the kid getting his foam posits ripped off, and they beat the kid on top of the head with them and then stole his shoes. I don't know if it was a shoe-related issue, but you guys kind of get the point. There has been a lot of mayhem, people getting injured, hurt, and even killed on issues centered around shoes, even though it's not directly related to the shoe itself. But I think as a CEO from a company, this is kind of a reason that I would have trouble being a cutthroat CEO. Someone like Phil Knight, who by all accounts doesn't exactly appear to have the best morals, at least not from what's been seen from him. But I would have trouble sleeping at night knowing people were getting hurt, knowing people were barely making any money from my shoes. But at the end of the day, it's all about the bottom line. And I think that whole aspect that people have in life about it's all about money, I need to make as much as possible, that's where we're going wrong as a society. I mean, when I was younger, I kind of felt like that, and I feel like I'm still going to be conservative with my money, save, all that sort of stuff when I do get a full-time job. I'm going to be working to be happy. I'm not going to be working to get money. That's just how I feel. I don't want to have a crappy life even if I'm making millions of dollars, if it comes at the expense of my happiness. You give me internet, cable, a nice flat screen TV, and a 100 by 100 foot room, and I'd be happy. I don't need much else. We can't take it with us when we die. So that stuff is all additional. I think as a society, we need to start learning how to help people. And kind of one of the conflicts I have, I want to make sure I get back to my point here, when it comes to Jordan and Nike Brand, is the memories I have from the shoes. I grew up basically, I'd say the majority of my shoes are retros. Even my Reeboks, even my Adidas. I think I only own 2 pairs of shoes at my apartment right now that are non retro shoes. They're basically original shoes. The Penny Fives and the LeBron Elites. Those are the only 2 pair of shoes I own out of my entire collection that are not retros. And it's basically because all these retros remind me of my childhood and remind me kind of that innocent time, a time when things were carefree. And it may be harder for younger guys to understand, But I grew up. I was born in '87, so I grew up in the prime of Jordan's career. The time I started remembering him really was that Orlando Magic series. That's like when I really started noticing Jordan. When he came back wearing the 45, that's when my eyes really drew attention to him. And then it just, as I got older, I remember watching the series against the Jazz. I believe it was '98 when he hit the jumper on Brian Russell. I remember all those moments, and they were good moments I shared with my dad, shared with people I care about, and that is the number one reason that I buy Jordans and Nikes. And I think there's a Macklemore song called, I believe, Wings, and he basically lays out all these same conflicting viewpoints that I'm laying out right now. And that is he had a friend get killed over his shoes. I don't know if this is true or he's just making a story for it. Talks about the labor, talks about consumerism, and how this brand is basically making us robots and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it still takes him back to those childhood moments. And that's really the conflict of interest that I have, and why it would be hard for me to do some of the things that people talk about, like boycotting, etc. And really, if you were to boycott the shoe, one or two shoes does nothing. Number one, when you boycott, you need to have I want to say, focused view or some sort of goal in mind. And if it's to curb violence, if it's to end the inhumane things going on, the labor practices, the consumerism, any reason, you need to come with conviction. I mean, if I were to one day say, maybe these memories aren't worth it, maybe there's a bigger picture here, I would sell every shoe, every Nike Jordan related shoe I owned, and I would never buy another Jordan or Nike shoe from that point forward. That's the kind of conviction you need if you really do mean something. Like if you're simply sidestepping a few shoes, I just don't see any purpose that serves. I mean, every time I hear a boycott of anything, people are typically avoiding that company at all costs. So it's like someone, for example, PETA does a lot of this stuff where a company has inhumane practices on a specific product, and if they don't like why the company is doing that, they go to the media, say that they're boycotting the entire company. So, for example, real leather jackets. That's something that PETA would probably go after. A company is making real leather jackets and killing the cows inhumanely. They're going to say, I'm boycotting that entire brand, even though it's only that one item that they're making. They come out in the news, say, protesting at all costs, and then the company realizes, hey, this isn't a good look for us, so we're going to maybe change the way that we make this one item. And then all of a sudden the boycott's over. PETA accomplished their goal. That's the type of thing you have to have in mind when you come with something along those lines. Now, I think moving forward, at least, I just have a tough time fighting those childhood memories, and that's why I haven't taken that step at this point. And I may eventually do it someday, but I think a company like New Balance is doing a very, very good thing. And that's why I really respect people like Crispy Coyle, who really is kind of starting to switch the focus of his collection over to New Balance. I mean, the majority of their shoes are made in America, and just it's a higher quality product. The stuff that they put out is nicer and it's cheaper. I mean, that right there should tell you something about Jordan and Nike brand. You can literally take a New Balance shoe, say, look at this material, look at how they feel on your feet, look at where they were made, and they're $100 free shipping. Something's wrong here. Nike and Jordan have a chokehold on us as consumers, and frankly, it's starting to annoy me. It's getting to the point where I'm almost willing to put aside those childhood memories for a greater cause here. Now, that's just my personal opinion. I don't know what I will think further tomorrow, the next day, but I just kind of wanted to tell you guys kind of my conflicting view on the brand, the reasons why I don't like them, which are pretty heavy, and basically the reason that I do like them. And even though it's only one reason, it weighs pretty heavy because everybody likes that nostalgic feeling from being a kid and seeing these players play. And it's something you didn't really think about as a kid, but growing up, it's something you think more and more about. So I know this video ran way too long. I'm not even sure if I'm going to post it, if people are going to watch it, get to the end. I apologize for the length, but this is something that's been on my mind for a while. I guess stay tuned. Really, I only have maybe 2 or 3 shoes that I've been kind of looking at for the next few months that interest me, so I don't know if I'm even going to have any more shoe reviews anytime soon. But I am going to definitely start looking more at New Balance. I've said that before, but I think I'm going to do a custom joint sometime in the future. And I just want to say to all my subscribers, thanks for listening. Hopefully this wasn't too serious. Well, I mean, it clearly was serious, but you get what I'm saying. I'm not trying to make the sneaker game a bad thing. Like, I don't want to be a part of any of these beefs that are going on. That stuff's just getting ridiculous. But in terms of something that we all need to think about, I think this is an issue that we all should, at the end of the day, consider, think about, and kind of process. There are other options out there, but to a lot of the guys my age, it is a nostalgia thing. If I do the movie channel, I will post a video and send a link to that channel. It would probably be in the next few weeks if it did happen. But as always, guys, thanks. Guessing I may get a few thumbs down on this video. But as always, peace.